quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
Can we get serious now?
One thing that did happen during the 60s was some music of an unusual or experimental nature did get recorded and did get released. Now look at who the executives were in those companies at those times. Not hip young guys. These were cigar-chomping old guys who looked at the product that came and said, I don't know. Who knows what it is? Record it, stick it out. If it sells, all right. We were better off with those guys than we are now with the supposedly hip young executives who are making the decisions of what people should see and hear in the marketplace.
Success in the music business begins with a dream, a vision. This podcast will give you, the listener, the insight and tools to turn that vision into a reality. Meet the industry professionals who work day by day behind the scenes, helping to make those dreams come true. Welcome to the business side of music.
John Waupsh is with us today. He's the CEO of Nerve. You ask what Nerve is, and I had to do some research. It's an app. It's crafted to stream unique audio and video content from your favorite artists. Well, you say, okay, but wait a minute. Don't we already have that? Yes, we do. But this one, when you start digging a little deeper, is cool because it also helps the artist. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Excited to be here.
Before you created Nerve, you were actually in, for lack of a better term, you were in the financial business.
Yeah. FinTech. It's financial technology. So, money movement. Effectively, what we did is we built, and we still do, we build accounts, checking accounts, loans, products that are really good for people, for consumers. And we offer them through a network of about 800 or so community banks and credit unions. And that company is named Kasasa.
Then you also went on and, well, I guess before that, you founded First Roy, looking at your bio. Then for the last 15 years or so with Kasasa, and then you form Nerve. Now, as I led into the show, we have a lot of apps out there. We seem to be inundated with them, whether it is Spotify or it's Pandora or it's Apple. What separates Nerve from all the others?
That answer I want to answer that actually with a really quick story. If I could do that real quick.
Absolutely.
Great. Prior to working with Kasasa, over 20 years ago or so, I was in college and trying to put myself through school in Chicago. And I became obsessed with records, as most people do in school. You discover this amazing media. And I had a couple of buddies who were DJs, and they really turned me on to rare funk and soul music. So I became really obsessed with playing this rare and funk and soul music for people who would otherwise never hear this music. And then I started to fall in love with the romance of this music that it was an artist's dream at some point. And unfortunately, that dream just never really made its way into popular culture. And now here was an audience of people listening and dancing to this music, and how wonderful it must be if I were that artist to come in and walk into that bar and see just everybody loving the music. And so I started to kind of dig in more to rare music. And what I found was it was a lot of music from the 20s to even the 80s where the music was recorded on acetates or even reels, but the recorded music was never actually published. Oftentimes, really nothing happened to it. It was recorded onto an acetate, in hopes that that artist might meet an A&R rep or somebody from a label, and they could hand them that acetate as almost their demo. What ended up happening with all these acetates was, they'd end up in collections of their parents or their kids, and those records would get sold to a local record store along with a bunch of Neil Diamond records and everything else. And of course, nobody really walks into a record store and says, hey, do you have any material recorded on a very hard to manage format by an artist I've never heard before? I'd like to buy that. So these acetates never really got sold, and unfortunately, they never really got cared for. So around the mid to late 90s, I started just collecting every acetate I could possibly get my hands on, reels and all sorts of media that from artists where we couldn't find who the original artist was. the material looked like nothing had ever happened to it. My dream was to one day actually release this material and reconnect the artist with the actual finished product. So around 2012 or so, I started Preservation Project, which is a very tiny little record label that has the intention, and we release music that was originally recorded on acetate where we're unable to find the artist. I move the material over to vinyl and release it, and then reserve the royalties for the artists or their families whenever they come forward. And the whole idea here is to kind of bring the artists back together with the lost music. We've done it successfully a few times. It's been absolutely wonderful. It's been just kind of a joy to see an artist, and it's just an amazingly beautiful thing. So I was releasing this material, and we would get fans of the label, not necessarily of the artist, because the artists were unknown completely. And the fans started getting a little upset because they'd say, it costs $20 to ship a 7-inch to Norway. Why are you charging me $20 to ship this 45 to Norway? And quite frankly, I don't control the shipping costs. I don't know. Why do you live in Norway? And so probably the wrong answer. But they would shoot back and they'd say, well, why don't you just stream this stuff on Spotify or, some other accessible service? My reason was really simple. I felt a fiduciary duty to these unknown artists. And if I stream their stuff on these platforms, they might earn a couple of pennies over a year. And it was, in my opinion, disrespectful. So being in technology for as long as I am, I pulled together a few of my friends who, we worked together very closely for the last 10 or 15 years, building products and such. And we said, well, why don't we build like a Spotify of sorts for independent music, where musicians can earn a recurring livable wage? Certainly, you've been in the industry for a very long time. You've heard, and many people value the musician as somebody who really deserves to be employed and deserves to get proper pay. So why on earth is the average performing musician, receiving maybe 15% of what they put out there from a monetary perspective? It just seemed like a massive challenge. And so that's what we did. That's where Nerve came from. Nerve is the intention, a few decades of trying to toil around with how do I get this other music that really needs to be heard by enough people, and how do I get these unknown artists paid in a way that actually makes sense today?
We had Michael Sloan, who's with Streaming Promotions, which is basically they're a promotions company to get your music onto Spotify, to get it onto playlisting. And he said there's 40,000 songs added to the Spotify platform daily. Especially an independent artist can get lost in that world rather quickly. What you're doing, and I like where you're going with this, because first of all, anybody listens to the show, and I repeat this ad nauseum on the podcast, but we are big proponents of the independent artist. And once again, nothing against label acts, nothing against that big machine out there that's moving. But the independent artist, and especially in this day and time with, what we're all dealing with, which is COVID-19 and, the social distancing that's going on. And, I just read an article the other day where they're basically saying tours may not start back up until mid-2021 or 2022 at this pace. So you've actually created something that, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's beneficial in two different directions. They both run a parallel course. You have provided an app that offers music to the listener of an independent artist's nature, and at the same time, you're offering a platform for the independent artist to get their music discovered and listened to and make money.
Yes, thank you. So Nerve really simply is definitely a streaming platform at its base, right? It streams audio and video securely directly to mobile devices. But you're absolutely right. There's this business model part of it that's pretty important. There's a couple of things that we really wanted to solve with Nerve, a couple of really big issues. First of all, I mentioned earlier, a lot of times artists tend to get paid in chunks as opposed to recurring revenue. And to me, recurring revenue I come from a SaaS background where that's the only way to really make money as a business. So you're not constantly chasing the next dollar. It just made sense. Okay, well, what we're going to do for the artists is we're going to make sure we at least get them on some sort of recurring revenue where they're getting paid monthly regularly. So it starts to feel like a paycheck that's almost like a salary, is what one of our artists said. So the first thing was we really needed a subscription model. The second part that we said we really need to make sure we do is we were looking at the market, and what we saw is on one side of the subscription sort of industry for music, you have guys like Spotify, those DSPs that we all know. And please, I'm not disparaging Spotify or anybody else. I don't want to, we're just entirely different sort of entity. But where they sit is oftentimes in this world of, 60 million, 70 million tracks. It's about discovery, music discovery, and artists will get paid based upon the play in a fraction of a cent or whatever the case may be. And in some ways, certain artists have said, well, that's kind of like the reverse of Robin Hood. They'll say, it seems like for 99% of the artists, they're almost taking from the 99% and giving them to the 0.5% that tend to have the hottest track that month. And that's one side of the subscription spectrum. And it's interesting because the churn rate, in other words, the rate at which subscribers leave those platforms, is actually relatively low because of the discovery that you stepped on there, which is, I'm discovering new content as a $10 a month payer user. So as a result, I'm going to stick around. On the opposite side of the subscription platform business, you have companies like Patreon or even, Bandcamp did this 5 or 6 years ago, where you could subscribe just to one artist. That artist will charge, $5 or $10 a month or whatever, and you can get unique content from them. But you're subscribing just to that one artist. And what we saw and what we heard reflected back to us is artists oftentimes felt their own sense of burnout by always feeling like they had to create new content to keep their subscribers around. That weight almost worked against the artists in some capacity. Like they just always had to come up with something new to keep their subscribers around. The other thing we saw is that oftentimes the subscription rates of subscribers churn really high as well, because subscribers, while I think I'm obsessed with Bob Bender's music and I'm going to listen to his music and I'm so excited I'm going to subscribe to him, maybe 3 months later I'm kind of tired of Bob's music and I'll check back in a year. So what we realized is we needed to bridge the gap. There needed to be a subscription service that offered discovery of new artists and new music at the same time as paying artists a substantial wage. Because as I guess the part I didn't mention is those other platforms that the Patreons and such, you tend to get a bigger chunk of the revenue. But if the subscribers are leaving pretty fast, it might not help you so much. So what we thought is if we could deliver $1.50 to $3 a month per subscriber, per supporter for that musician, to that musician's pocket each month, that would be a really beneficial thing for independent artists. And so that's what we've done. So inside of the app itself, the subscriber actually says, hey, I want to support with my $10, I want to support these 3 artists. They could choose up to 3 artists. So each artist that they choose, the subscriber doesn't know this, but each artist that they choose gets $1.50 per month. That subscriber says, I want to support Bob, I want to support John, I want to support Clarence or whoever it may be. Each of those artists gets $1.50. And then the other thing we heard, and I'm talking a little long here, but this is an important point as well, Bob. What I heard over and over and over again from artists, and I deeply understood this myself as someone who is I traveled a lot in my life. However, I got the benefit of flying, first class sometimes and staying in really nice hotels. Hearing the stories of artists living out of a van, traveling around, giving up birthdays and everything you could possibly imagine, often delaying or just not having families in order to build a fan base. And how much that fan base really means to that artist suddenly really resonates with you. And what we realized was we needed to compensate the artists for turning their fan base over to Nerve. So in other words, you've worked your butt off trying to get or attaining this level of fan base that you have. If you tell them that your work is on Nerve, we're going to pay you when they subscribe. So we track your fans, and if your fans join Nerve, we're going to give you an extra $1.50 a month for that fan. Even if they choose 3 months from now to no longer support you because they've discovered some other artists on the platform, you're still going to make that $1.50 per month per fan as long as that fan is on the platform. And so the idea here is We want to make sure that the artists are just making a nice recurring revenue that makes sense for all of their time and effort and energy they put in, not just into the music, into building the fans and fan base and, running their business.
What a novel concept, making money for the artist. We're going to go ahead and take a break. I love this. I can tell, first of all, you're very passionate about what you do, and that's rare in this industry these days. But we're going to take a break, get a word in from one of our sponsors. John Waupsh is with us, the CEO of Nerve. And we're going to talk some more about this app that's out there and how the artists can make money off their music. What a novel concept. And how you can discover as a fan new music that may have previously been lost.
Hey, this is Marlon from the band Exile, and you're listening to The Business Side of Music. It's the most listened to music industry podcast in some of the better parts of town.
Some of the better parts of town. That is funny.
You're listening to The Business Side of Music.
Hi, everyone. I'm Larry Butler, and I want to send you a free digital copy of my new book, The Singer-Songwriter Rulebook, 101 Ways to Help You Improve Your Chances of Success. That's right. Everything you need to know to launch your career as a singer-songwriter, all based on my 40 years in the live performance arena. And believe me, I've seen it all. In my book, you'll find the 10 things you have to deal with before even thinking about becoming a singer-songwriter performer. You'll also learn about the 5 things every singer-songwriter can do this weekend to make their live show better. 5 things I can guarantee that you are not doing already. Plus, there's tips on songwriting and staging, photo and video shoots, publishing, merch, dozens of other topics. All written for people who don't particularly like to read. And again, it's free. Just go to the Business Side of Music website homepage and look for my book cover. Click on it, and a free digital copy of my book will be yours. I'm Larry Butler, and I approve of this message. Thanks.
Hi, this is Tom Sabella, the creator, founder, and co-producer of the Business Side of Music podcast. It's loyal listeners such as yourself that make our podcast successful. Take the time to sign up for our weekly newsletter. Not only does it contain information on upcoming podcast episodes, but also informative tidbits on the music industry and even bonus items that we give away. All you have to do is sign up at businesssideofmusic.com and we will send you Larry Butler's new singer-songwriter rulebook. That's it. All you have to do is go to businesssideofmusic.com, sign up, and we will send you Larry Butler's new book. Thanks to all our loyal listeners. We love you.
You're listening to The Business Side of Music.
Back in the studio, John Waupsh is with us. He's actually in Austin, Texas today. Once again, we're, all practicing the COVID-19 safety dance here. He is the CEO of Nerve. Jumping right in here now, I think it was 2008, they had a huge fire that swept through the back lot of Universal. And initially, I remember Universal Music Group saying, we only lost 22 masters, and it's now turned into be in the hundreds, if not thousands, of masters that have been lost. What you talked about in the first segment, there's a lot of, I guess you could say, lost music out there that may be a copy of a master or might be finished piece of product that has really lost its visibility within the eye of the music marketplace, where that artist no longer exists. And I think what I read on your website is you covering music from the 1920s to the 80s, which is, to me, some of the best music that was ever released out there. And I also want to back up a step further. You talked about how you got into, I guess, just funk and soul music when you first started out. Back in those days, especially in the 60s and 70s, when you had Sly and the Family Stone and Grand Central Station and Tower of Power and, Lydia Pence and Cold Blood, you had all these great groups like that. Is that music still out there? I mean, is that style of music still out there? Can you find it, or is that lost?
What you were getting to within the 20s through the 80s was specifically the Preservation Project, my record label where we discovered music that was recorded, but unfortunately nothing ever really happened to it. But yes, today there's absolutely, in fact, on the Nerve app, I just got an alert earlier today from one of our artists who was doing a little promotion for another artist that he wants to bring onto the Nerve app. And that artist actually did just release some really amazing funk music that is very much in the vein of something like even Sly and the Family Stone. So yes, actually, there are plenty of artists today who are living, breathing that tradition, innovating on on the sounds of 30, 40 years ago. And it's very vibrant, probably more vibrant than ever because of the fact that it's so easy to discover new content. One of the things we really have found that our subscribers say they love the most about Nerve is because the content is so many different places. So for instance, if I am personally a big fan of Citizen Cope. And, for me to listen to Citizen Cope, other than his traditional releases that I can find everywhere, for me to do that, I need to go to SoundCloud. I need to not just go to his SoundCloud. I go find people who uploaded, people whose names I don't know, who uploaded a recording from a concert at, Slow Bar in Nashville in 2001. Then I go bounce over to YouTube and I find another recording from somebody else. And wow, that's really awesome. And then I find that, he sang the national anthem at a baseball game, back 15 years ago. And I see that recording. And then I go over to Bandcamp and I find something else. And so if you're a real connoisseur or a real fan of an artist today, then I go to Instagram and I see he did a live thing, and I go to Facebook and there's a live thing there. It's all topical at best. That information isn't as referenceable and it's not all in one place. So as a result, if you're a fan today, while there is a crazy amount of content by particular artists, that content is everywhere. And believe me, I'm a digger at heart. Like I dig records. I love getting my fingers all nasty from, being in basements and digging through crates of records. But if I'm at a party or I'm relaxing by the pool, the last thing I want is to be digging through websites and try to start spinning stuff. So, having one really nice place like Nerve, where the app is actually brilliantly designed, if I could say so myself, I didn't actually design it, so I can say it, to play music and to enjoy music, which is often left behind. All that content is one place, man. The subscribers just absolutely love it, and I can see why.
When we get down to the music, the style of music, the genres, I'm assuming it's not limited to any certain aspects. I mean, we talked about funk and soul, but I mean, you could find Americana or urban or country or jazz, or is it pretty open-ended like that?
Well, here's the thing. We launched Nerve in late February of this year in beta, and the beta just ended maybe a week ago. So the technical beta is done. Nerve is now ready to actually, and during that time, we only had a couple of artists. Specifically, that time was to test which subscribers actually like this thing. Is it scalable? All the normal things. Does the product actually work? All of the things you want to test. And we fixed all the things that were not working, and now it's ready for any artist can go to nerve.fm and you click the create a channel button. You can create a free channel right now, and you attach your bank account. You upload your content, super easy. I've timed it. In fact, on the FAQ on our website, I think it takes a grand total of maybe 2 minutes. So any artist of any genre can start putting their content up there, and of any era, to be frank. I mean, right now we're actively talking to artists who were, very big artists, and they may have stopped their careers. Maybe they decided to stop for one reason or another sometime in the 80s. And we are talking to many artists who are very, very active today. I think the rule applies to everybody, which is, so long as you are in control of your licensing, those of your destiny from an independent music standpoint, you want to find ways to actually deliver an incredible experience to your fans and make a sustainable, livable income off your music. And we believe we do that.
How do the PROs get involved in this, whether it's BMI or ASCAP? How does that incorporate into this? Do you factor that in the process? Will the owner of that content, the songwriter, does anything go to the PROs, or does it all come to them? Is it their responsibility, or is that even a factor?
Well, it certainly is always a factor, right? You always want to make sure the content owners are getting paid. It is up to the artist who is on the platform to ensure that they are making sure that their writers are getting paid, or whoever is part of that system. To be very frank, because of that, the people who are the most interested in this platform oftentimes are those singer-songwriter performers, the people who are very much, whether they're band or they're one-man or one-woman band, who are very own that property in that way. It allows them to make sure that they control their destiny. and they enjoy that. So this gives them the platform.
We're going to take another break, get another word in for another one of our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to have some more conversation with John Waupsh, who is the CEO of Nerve FM, an app crafted to stream unique audio and video content, which we haven't talked about either.
Hi there, this is Michael Blanton, and I'm with Songwriting University, and you are listening to the business side of music.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Introducing K-Tel's Hair Magician. This new precision instrument comes with 2 interchangeable heads numbered 1 to 4. These 4 different comb tooth edges are designed to keep the cutting blades exactly the right distance from the scalp. By just combing, it will trim and taper longer hair, automatically tapers and cuts shorter hair. Easy and safe to use. Excellent for shaving your neck and trimming sideburns. Any mother can now give her family professional haircuts. Hair Magician will style, shape, and thin. Teenagers can now have the latest cuts in only minutes. With K-Tel's Hair Magician, it's easy for men to look neat and smartly groomed. At only $2.99, it pays for itself after just 1 haircut. Think of all the dollars you can save. Buy one now. Hair Magician comes complete with heavy vinyl case, attachments, barber comb, extra blade, and directions. Only $2.99 from K-Tel.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Back in the studio, John Waupsh is with us. With your app, we talk about audio. You also have the capability of video. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, sure. So yes, we securely stream video to the device. We also, I keep talking about the mobile device, but, we specifically built this thing built Nerve for delivery of content, enjoyment of audio and video content on the mobile device, which of course can be, shot by Bluetooth over to your big TV or whatever. But here in a few weeks, we'll also have a nifty little Mac app that'll allow you to play it on your Mac, which would be really nice too. The idea here of the video is really simple. You can either live stream video directly from, the app. We can patch into, if you've got a very advanced sort of recording setup, which some artists really do. We're more than happy to give you APIs so you can hit our encoding and everything directly. Or the third way is we also, on our beautiful admin system that you can use, take a few seconds and upload the video yourself. So if you've already ran through all the fun editing stuff yourself and you really want to have all the control on that, which I totally respect, you can just go ahead and press upload and throw that video right up in there. And then inside of the admin section, you just schedule. You schedule your audio and video releases for days and times in advance. So there's you can create coordinated events, or, you can just spend 30 minutes and schedule the entire year of content as you want it released. It's super, super easy. Our whole goal here is, as I mentioned with Nerve, is to help you build a sustainable business. And so, a big part of that is not just content, audio and video content, and making it, by the way, streaming it, not allowing you to give it away or give away your files. That just kills me inside. Today, whenever people are very happy to pay for streaming content, there's literally no reason to give away your files. I mean, one thing you'll get with me, Bob, is definitely an opinion. Whether the opinion's right or not, I don't know. You'll get an opinion. The other part about running your business, though, that is so incredibly important for not just artists, for literally any industry, is having the control of your own data. Who's accessing your stuff, who loves your stuff. And I'm not just talking about like usernames or people in a very large geography like you'll get on other platforms, but we give you the actual data. That's incredibly important. Even if you're not going to do anything magical with it today, you will down the line. And so we believe that's an important cornerstone.
What does that data include?
Well, the data includes all the contact information about the user, but not just that, obviously. And it's, by the way, that's where users have provided, of course, that they want to be contacted by you. But it also provides the details on, which tracks were actually enjoyed the most by which types of people. So, for instance, what we've heard from artists is they would love to, for instance, throw demos out and check out the response and see, hey, does somebody who actually really loves my music also like this demo? Or is it maybe reaching a newer audience, somebody, who maybe never heard my music before? And that's entirely possible with our platform. The data itself right now, the analytics, is something that, to be quite frank, will be the future of your business if it's not today. At least knowing that you're turning your fans over to a platform that respects you and is willing to, and not just willing, but wants to give you this data so that you can have it and use it later, is something that we heard over and over again from artists that, they really, really wanted to see. I mean, I just heard a horror story from an artist a couple days ago who is literally has been like turned off from certain aspects of all the Google platforms because they think that this artist is putting up content that's owned by somebody else, but it's his content. Oh. And he can't, and what number do you call to get that fixed? And that's and it's like, and that's a crazy, crazy wild thing. But, the most important thing, in my opinion, that we build, the most important thing we can do at Nerve is to do the right things to build the trust with the artist. Because if you don't have artists, you don't have songwriters, you don't have music. And so whatever we can do to make sure that we're giving the right information, the right data, the right whatever it is, the right streaming platform, and building the right product for the artist, that's what we're going to build.
Sounds like the perfect app, perfect product for the artist and, of course, for the fan. Let's say I'm an artist and I want to get the music on there, or if I'm a fan and I want to subscribe, where do they go?
If you're an artist, you go to nerve.fm, and there's buttons all over there saying create a channel. Super simple. After we verify you, it's a really simple verification process. After we verify you, your channel goes live if you wanted to, or you can say, hey, I want it to go live in 2 months. Super, super simple. If you're a fan, to be quite frank, that the way we do this is the fan learns about the product from the artist. So, for instance, if you're a fan of Preservation Project, which is my record label, you would go to nerve.fm/pp, Preservation Project. And if you go there, like right now, you can see a nice little landing page with Preservation Project's releases, and you can listen to it, and you click through to subscribe right there. You can also, as a fan, there's other ways to subscribe, but the primary driver that we want to create here is we want to create a referring mechanism for the artist to make money off their fan base. So what we do automatically when you are an artist and you create a channel, we automatically, like within seconds, you have this really beautiful landing page created for you to send your subscribers to. Also, for every upload, for every audio track that you upload, landing page is automatically created for that audio track as well. So if it's a special audio track that you want to share out or whatever, you've got a beautiful URL, send somebody to it. They can listen, they can sign up right there. We try to streamline as much of this as possible, take that burden off the artist, make it something that's elegant, easy to use, and just surprisingly enjoyable. So the idea is just head to nerve.fm, nerve.fm, and create your channel.
I like that because it behooves the artist to stay in relationships, communicate with their fans, get them engaged and active on this too, because the fans wind up with great music. The artist gets paid by those fans listening to the music.
Absolutely. We heard the other day, there's an artist who's got a good, really strong following for his quarantine shows that he's putting on a social media platform. And what he's decided to do is he's going to keep doing those quarantine shows, but he's going to do an after show on Nerve. So he's going to, tell everybody, instead of the PayPal banners or whatever everybody else kind of puts, he's just going to say, hey, at the end of the show, I'm doing a special event on Nerve. So, my subscribers can not only just see it now, but they can access it later as well. So artists are very imaginative in how they can get closer to their fan. If they tell us something, we're going to build a way to make that happen, because that's the goal here, right? I mean, that's the key. Almost every ounce of this product came from musicians and artists informing us on what it is that they would want to see. And, I don't see that stopping. So that's the goal, is just kind of create something that's usable, gets you closer to your fan, allows you to make a livable, sustainable career.
Wow, what a concept. John, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Bob. This was great.
The The Business Side of Music is the creation of Tom Sabella and Tracy Snow and is produced by Bob Bender. The Business Side of Music is recorded at Music Dog Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Production sound design by Keith Stark. Voiceover and promo by Lisa Fuson.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
Hey, good looking. We'll be back to pick you up later.